Hello, everyone. Good evening, fellow developers, and welcome to our latest meetup in the JavaScript Fury series. Today, we'll be discussing the exciting topic of developing browser extensions in JavaScript. Today, our distinguished speaker for tonight's event is Luís, a lead software and AI engineer, senior lecturer at the Polytechnic Institute of Viana do Castelo, and former director of engineering at Toptal. Also, Luís is a CTO at infraPLAN LLC. So the list is pretty extensive, as you see. With this experience and knowledge in the field, Luís is the perfect person to guide us through this topic. By the end of this event, you will have gained valuable insights into developing JavaScript browser extension, which will help you to extend web applications functionality, automate tasks, and customize the browsing experience. The meetup is expected to last approximately 75 minutes. We encourage you to stay till the end. And please do not hesitate to use the chat feature to ask questions, which we will address both during the event and at the end of the event. We would like to apologize because the previous meetup of the Lemon.io was rescheduled. Unfortunately, Luís has fallen ill and he is feeling much better now, hopefully so. And as an added bonus, we will be holding a draw for those who ask the most interesting questions. So once again, I would like to thank our speaker, Luís, for joining us tonight. And I pass my words to Luís. Hey, Luís, how do you feel? What's up?
Hey, Darina. It's great to be here. And and thank you for your compliment. I do feel much better today. I will probably interrupt today's session once in a while to drink a glass of warm tea.
Sure.
But other than that, I'm ready to go and to share this topic, which I think it's interesting subject that not everybody had the chance to work on in their professional career. So let's go for it.
Let's get it started.
Yeah. If we can share the slides, please. All right. So today I will be talking about developing browser extensions to the purpose of extending web applications. So why browser extensions? Because so the idea of browser extension is to unleash the full potential of browsing experience. The reason for that is that when we are running a web application, of course, the application is contained in itself and doesn't have access to others or doesn't interact with others. Well, of course, it interacts with others through APIs, but not from an UI perspective. So one of the things that browser extensions can do for us is to enable that. Not only that, as I mentioned in the previous presentations, we can add precious functionality, and probably many of us already use some extensions that are available in the extension market to help us with our daily tasks. I'll show some examples of those during the presentation. So just to do a quick revision, so in the last episodes of this series of presentations, we started to define reverse engineering, which is an important topic when implementing browser extensions, because sometimes in order to add functionality, we need to reverse engineer without having access to the source code of the functionality that already is there. I presented some of the techniques, and you can review that presentation on the link on YouTube. So, that was the sole reason why we approached this topic. So there was another presentation, as Darina mentioned. Unfortunately, I felt ill about monkey patching, which is a technique not only to allow us to reverse engineer, but to also patch applications that are in runtime. This talk will be postponed for the 1st of March, but I'll introduce you to those topics as well, so that you can complement the knowledge of extending applications. So this is the outline for today. So first, I always like to start with a motivation. So why am I coming up with this? Then I'll bring you some definitions. So what is a Chrome extension? What is the basic structure, and what is its purpose? Then I'll give you some guides on how to get started with basic Chrome extensions. Then I'll talk a little bit about the architecture of Chrome extensions, because there are several components that communicate with each other, and there are many things we can do, and I will explain briefly each component of the extension in this section. So by the end of the presentation, I will focus on developing and showing you some small demonstration projects. So I will actually pick up my IDE and show you some of simple things that you can do to start implementing extensions today. So very, very simple stuff, so that you just have a base and an example if you want to implement your own things. Then we'll, of course, go to some conclusions about this presentation, and then finally a Q&A session to close it up. So motivation. Why this topic? Why are extensions, browser extension, useful? Of course, we have two perspectives here. So for the users, of course, we can add new features in existing features to existing web applications. I can give you an example. There are a couple of extensions that do what we call text expansion, which is basically transforming a tag into a piece of text that we tend to use a lot. For instance, let's say that you write a lot of emails and you always have the same introduction, or there's a common sentence that you have to write. So the text expander extension allows you to transform a single tag into the full text. So this is a good use, because that kind of extension typically integrates into email clients, or even other web applications like input fields, text areas, so that we can easily add some text that we use frequently. So I will go a bit more deep later on in the presentation about expanding text. So, of course, this allows for customized browsing experience. It's like adding something on top of our application that comes from the browser. That leads to improve the productivity and the efficiency, and task automation, and more streamlined workflows. For developers, so we have a lot of functionalities that we don't have in typical front-end development. So, of course, manipulation of web page, managing bookmarks, storing data. So these are some of the things that we can do with Chrome extensions. We can also create communication between different tabs and the different web applications, which is something can only be usually done through APIs, but we can do that with the Chrome browser functionalities. So these are the main advantages for both users and developers. And in terms of motivation, why did I came up with this presentation? Why this topic? Because I had I think typically a presentation is more must have some meaning, and these Chrome extensions have meaning to me on a professional perspective, because there was a story. I was working for a company, and I kept and it was actually a less technical job, and I was repeating daily tasks over and over again. So it was not fluid. I was wasting a lot of time, and I was not productive. And those were the platforms that were available. However, since I'm a developer, well, you know what developers do. Developers tend to work on things that eliminate repetitive work. And so that's what I did for myself. So I created a tool, a Chromium extension that injected code into the existing platforms and allowed us to add functionality to those platforms and connect all the platforms that I was using at that company. It was such a nice experience that in the end, the work that I did there ended up serving as the base to create a more official tool for that company. So it had a very interesting outcome, and of course with much minimal work than implementing the platform from scratch to do that work. So that's why I gained my motivation to learn browser extensions, and now to share this knowledge with you. So, introduction. So, what are browser extensions? Basically, software that adds new feature to Chromium-based browsers. So, Chromium is basically the engine built by Google that is shared between a lot of used browsers these days, like Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Brave, and Opera, and it's like a common ground to serve our browsing purposes. So what can extensions do? They can modify web pages, add new functionality, as I said before, and integrate with other online services. And the fun part is that they allow for interacting between applications. So in each tab, when we open a browser, in each tab we are running a certain application, and we can communicate between tabs, which will allow to make integrations even without the access to the source code of the original source code of the applications. And this way we can create a range of new functionalities that can help with our work, especially considering that in most companies, more and more, we are adopting SaaS for everything. So it's normal that if you work on any company, you will have at least 10 different applications. And sometimes it's difficult to move things from one application to the other. So this can be particularly useful for companies to create those integrations if they don't exist between the applications. So how can we get started? So of course, to create an extension, we will need a Chromium-based browser. where we can install the extension. Actually, this is one of the things that this is one of the areas where we can develop without installing, literally without installing any developer dependencies. No developer dependencies are required, so you don't need to install Node or npm or anything like that. Of course, you can, and later on, this will be more towards the next presentation. Of course, you can have those tools to create more advanced extensions, but just to start off, you don't need any of that. So you just need a browser and naturally a text editor. So we need to create a folder where we have the basic structure of the extension. That includes typically a manifest file, which is mandatory, which is the configuration. I'll give more details in the next slides. JavaScript code files and resources, images, icons, also style sheets. This is what you need to create an extension. In order to load the extension, you will need to enable the developer mode on your browsers. So basically, and then load and there's an option after you enable the developer mode. There's an option to load an impact extension, and you just need to indicate the folder where this basic structure is at. So I actually, in this slide, I have it more detailed. So if you open up, on Chromium-based browsers, you have special links, Chrome, two dots, dash, and you can access certain parts of the browser, like dash settings will go to the settings section, dash extensions will go to the extension section. So if you go to the extensions section through the browser's address bar, you will access the installed extensions menu. Right on the top right corner, there's the developer mode that you can enable. And then once you enable the developer mode, you'll get these options: load and pack, pack extension, update, etc. So if you click load and pack, you can indicate the folder where the extension code is. So basically, the location of the manifest file. One important thing to understand: anytime that there are changes to base configuration, let's say the manifest file or even other scripts, you will need to reload the extension for it to reload the code that is running. So in terms of so far, does anyone have any questions that you would like to ask before I move to the architecture section? I mostly covered basic stuff so far, so it's okay. Okay. Yeah, let's move forward. But be sure to have any questions to the chat whenever you want. Okay. So architecture overview of browser extensions. So basically we have 5 types of components that we can include on extension. So the manifest file, this is essential. This is the configuration of the extension. It is the core. It's like the entry point of the application. We have service workers, which are basically background scripts in JavaScript that are running the stuff while the browser is open. Content scripts, which are basically injection scripts, so JavaScript scripts that we are going to inject on the web applications. So the target will be defined in the manifest file. So we have more UI related components. So basically an extension can have an UI, and there are two types of UIs. So so whenever you add an extension, so you will see a little you will see most browsers on the right corner, right top corner, the icons of all installed extensions, and if you click on that icon, you will have access to a pop-up where you can have a couple of options. So the pop-up is part of the UI of the extension. Not only that, you also have an options page. So many extensions are configurable, and you can access the options page, which has an UI of itself. So it's basically an HTML page that can include JavaScript and CSS. You can also have other assets, so the icon of the extension, some images, and other things that we can have. So the manifest file, which is a very important one. So it's basically a JSON file for configuring Chromium-based extensions. It must be on the root directory of our extension, and it includes well, more descriptive information like the extension name, the version, the description of the extension, basically some info about it. So this info will later be reused when you publish an extension on the store. It also accomplishes important aspects of extension development, which is regarding the permissions that the extension has over your browser. Because when we are working on extensions, we have access to more things. So it's important that that we define the security rules on the access to those functionalities. So, and you will notice that whenever you install an extension from the market, you'll be asked if you want to allow certain permissions, which are described on the manifest file. And of course, once you load the extension through the manifest file, the APIs that you'll receive and you will have access to depend on this configuration. So we have here a very simple example of an extension. So this one is in version 2. Many applications are already using version 3 of the manifest file. It's a bit more complex to configure, and if I'm not mistaken, they will. The store is going to remove support soon from V2, but they follow more or less the same structure. So as you can see, we have this JSON configuration with the name of the extension, the description, the version, so the icon that appears on our browser, the content scripts. So basically, these are the scripts that we are going to inject on the web pages. So the content script, I will explain more on this later on, but basically we have a matching pattern. So the URL pattern where we are going to inject the selected script. So permissions, so in case we need our extension to access, for instance, external resources, and the link to the background page. So as I said before, this information is critical for developing and publishing extensions. And whenever you try to publish publicly an extension, this information will be reviewed carefully by the store. So you need to make sure it describes everything your extension does. Moving on to the next component, which are the service workers. So these are basically scripts that are running while your browser is running. So essentially, you don't need to open a specific page for these services to be open. I will actually address Andrew's question. Browsers can't read data from other extensions directly, but they can communicate with other extensions. There's a messaging mechanism, which I will address later on in the presentation. And yes, you need to have those permissions into the manifest file. So continuing into service workers. So service workers are actually a way of doing this communication, because they are running as the browser is running. So you don't need to be opening a certain web application for the service workers to be doing work. What they are used for, offline access, for instance. So they keep running whenever, even if you don't have access to internet, and they, in many ways, they can be used as a caching resource, because even if you close the web application, you can the worker is still running. So if it's caching some information, it's possible to reuse that information later on when you reopen the app. Of course, so this is one of the uses. I've used this feature myself before. And actually, in one of the demo projects, I will show you a little bit of caching, which has a specific technical reason once we reach that. So of course, it listens to so the background. The service workers listen to network requests made either by the browser, by other extensions, or by web applications. Web applications can be configured to send requests to extensions. If there is, because it's technically possible to create a web application that already knows and is aware of the existence of a certain extension, and do these kind of integrations to have a more enhanced experience. The way we can communicate between these components is through this global object that is available on service workers, which is Chrome .runtime, and the function, the method send message, will allow us to send message to other pages or tabs or other extensions, for that matter, if we have the background worker permission set. Content scripts, those are really these are really interesting. Content scripts, so basically they are JavaScript scripts that can interact with the DOM of web applications. So they have access. They can also communicate. So content scripts are added, like I said before, with a manifest file. So whenever a certain URL pattern is matched, we can run a specific script that will have access to the DOM of that application. You can with that modify the behavior of the page, the content, or even the style of the page, and you can communicate with other extensions with or other pages with the send message method. Content scripts can also have access to the tabs API in order for us to access to interact with other tabs of the same application that we are managing. The way to declare content scripts in the manifest file. So we have basically we have an array. The content scripts attribute in the manifest file takes an array of objects, and each object will represent a script to be injected. Each script will have can have these 5 attributes: matches, JS, CSS, runat, and all frames. So here is an example. So this content script, content underscore script.js will be injected whenever we join any page, example.com. So any subpage any page that matches that URL pattern. And we have also other options other than these 5 that we're showing. So basically, matches is the URL pattern. JS is the JavaScript files we want to inject. So it doesn't need to be just a single file. It can be a set of files. CSS, which is an array of CSS files that we want to inject if we want to change the style of the application that we are changing. For instance, let's say that you want to create the dark mode for a web application that doesn't originally support. You can simply inject a CSS file through this option. Runat will specify when the document is injected. So whenever the document is idle, so it's still being loaded, so we inject as soon as we can, or whenever we got the full document. So, and all frames means that we want to inject the content scripts in all in the browser frames or in the iframe. So if it's true, it will also inject the code in the iframes. So let's take a couple of let's take a minute to answer the questions if we have any. So let's see. So we have a question. Where else can we use service workers apart from extensions? So you can use service workers for many things. So typically, you can also use them in Node.js applications on the server side. So if you want to parallelize or create background tasks that will run outside of the main process, it's as probably many of you know, JavaScript is a single-threaded language. So it runs on only one thread. But the workaround when we need to parallelize work is to create service workers. So that's one of the uses. On the extensions realm, it works a little bit different, but the concepts are the same. So it's background work that is being done. I hope that answers your question. And Dimitri, thank you for being here. So I don't think we have any additional questions for now. Just take my glass of tea. So let's move on. So content scripts, there are some limitations for content scripts. While we have access to the full DOM of the page, and that includes HTML, CSS, and the access is dynamic, so it's not static access. So we can, as the script is running, if the content changes, we can have handlers. For instance, the mutation observers that I explained on previous presentation can listen to changes on the DOM, and that will work well. However, there are certain things that we can do with content scripts, which basically is accessing to JavaScript variables or function defined in the page. So in terms of reverse engineering certain functionalities, it will be a bit more difficult if we can't access to those. We can't also access to cookies or local storage. However, the reason for this is that they run in a separate JavaScript context that doesn't have access to these things. However, unfortunately, there's a workaround. So I'll show you the workaround. So this is the way. Since we have access to the DOM, we can add things to the DOM, and at least for now, nothing prevents us from having a script tag, which basically runs JavaScript. So this is a way of adding code that actually has access to the JavaScript. It's like it's running the code as if this code was part of the original application in the first place. So basically, our content script will add this script tag. We can either paste the code inside the script tag, or just indicate a source for another JavaScript file. In case you indicate a source for another JavaScript file, we need to list that file as an accessible resource. On the demo projects, I will show you this example. But basically, this is the solution in case you want to access JavaScript functions or methods. So how to inject content script for? I'm just reading Dimitro's question. To inject content script for the iframe conditionally, only if iframe is in a specific pattern URL. That's a good question. So basically, one way to do it is just to inject. You can initially inject in the page without enabling the all frames option, and basically by DOM manipulation, you can do another injection into the iframe, but you might be limited in some cases regarding the course restrictions to do so. So I'm actually I never did that, to be quite honest, Dimitro. But it's a very good it's a very good question. So another thing that you can probably do, since if we use this workaround to inject the script, we can potentially do some. We can detect potentially if we are running the code in an iframe or not. Honestly, I never did that, so I will definitely research on that. And we have another question. I want. Okay. Yes, these lives are recorded and available on YouTube. And Marco's question will be addressed later on by my colleagues. I will continue on. So I will not spend too much time in this part, because for the purpose of this presentation, we are more focused into extending existing application. So, but it's still worth to mention. So the option and pop-up pages. So basically the UI elements that users can use to interact with extension settings, or to have a separate. Because whenever we add functionality to a web application, that functionality doesn't need to be inside the application. It can be just inside the pop-up. Of course, we have a little bit more limitations for the reasons that I explained regarding access to JavaScript, but there are some workarounds using the messaging mechanism. So we can inject a script via content script that through the Chrome messaging system communicates with the pop-up or the options page. So, but again, I will not invest too much time on this, but you need to know that this exists, because this is the base of building an UI for your extension. So let's move to the fun part. So the demo projects. I have 3 for you today. So of course we need to start with a Hello World project. So our target application, well, this is what everyone talks about these days, OpenAI and the ChatGPT. So I decided to give you some examples of injecting code into the ChatGPT and customize it a little bit for us. So basically, the first project, first of all, I want to print a message saying that, hey, the script was successfully injected. And I did another thing, which was I want to change the look and feel of ChatGPT just to look a little bit more like Lemon.io, so to use the same color scheme. So these were the requirements for my first extension. So this is the folder and file structure that I used. I mean, there are many file structures that and folder structures that you can use, and there is no I mean, if you go to the Chrome extension documentation, you can find their suggestion, but there is no mandatory standard. Use it as you like, as long as you are consistent and things make sense. It's all fine. So basically, I have the image section, the manifest file, and then the source file. On source, I split into 3 folders. So the background folder, where I will be running the background script. So background worker can either be directly a JS file or an HTML file. So the reason why I added, and I'll show once I share my my IDE, I can show this to you. But the reason why I decided to add an HTML file was to load index.js as a module, so that way you can use the import functionality inside the JavaScript files, because if your background script gets massive, you don't want to keep the entire code in the same file for obvious reasons. So that's why I loaded as a module. In this specific presentation, I will not have more than 1 file. So these are simple extensions. So everything will be at index.js. But I'm already preparing for the next one, where I will have more files on background script. So the loaders. So basically, these are the page loaders. So the scripts that will be executed whenever a certain page loads from, in this case, whenever I load ChatGPT application, this script loader will be loaded. And then the scripts. The scripts are basically, so our script loader JS file will inject into the page these scripts, so that they run and have access not only to the DOM but also to the JavaScript parts of the application, so that we can extend it further. So this is the manifest file, and things that I need to talk about. So the web accessible resources. So since I'm injecting things from the scripts folder, this needs to be here. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to reference these files. So the content scripts. So basically, whenever I open chat.openai.com dash wildcard, I will run this script loader, and then the background page script. And we actually, there's a mistake in this slide, but I can show you this in the IDE. If we can change now for my screen, please. there we go. Okay, so this is the file that I wanted to share. So let's start with the script loader. So basically, this is the function that workaround that I mentioned to you that will inject a script tag into the application, and this is the code that we will run. So we have two parts. So we are loading two scripts. First of all, we want to install in our application the runtime ID and the Chrome URL. This will be useful in the third demo for us to communicate with the background script. And then we are loading a specific script from this folder, the Hello World script. If we open up, so this will run inside the ChatGPT. So, and basically, this is very simple. So I have a script to inject CSS. I mean, this could have been done with content scripts as well, but I decided to do this way so that you know that you have this option as well. And basically, I will create a style tag by injecting this CSS. So I want to change the look and feel of the ChatGPT interface. So of course, in order to come up with these selectors, I had to investigate the DOM of the application beforehand. And I'm using this important in the instructions on the selector so that we can effectively replace the colors of the interface. And I also want to alert after half a second that our script was successfully injected. So let's move to the demonstration. So whenever I open, as you see, the script was injected, and we now have the colors of Lemon.io in the ChatGPT interface. So, and anything that you run there will appear on the console. So let's say that we want to also log Hello World. So I'm going to refresh the page, and as you see, so this code was run inside the web application, and it does have access to all the JavaScript from OpenAI. One of the advantages of injecting script tags is that we don't need to reload the extension anytime we make changes. So this does happen. So if I change to by world, you'll see that it's loading. It's dynamic load. However, if I change anything on the loaders, so on the content pages, we will need to reload the extension in order for these changes to be implemented. So you would need to go to the extensions page, click on refresh, and there you would load. So if you see, this is the script that I injected in this first part of my loader. So in order to send the ID of the Chrome extension and the URL, so that we can communicate with it later on. So they are. Let me just see the chat. I think we are being asked to zoom a little bit. Let me see if I can do that. I don't think I have that option available. Anyway, later on, I can I can make this code available. Let me see, just very quickly, if I can change on the at least the font size. Does it look more visible? That's right. Yeah. Hopefully so. So to address Miller's question, so we have some opportunities to set up auth module replacement for development environment when we work with Chrome browser extensions. Yeah, so by injecting the script tag, as I showed you, it kind of does that in a way. So since the code is running inside the web application, of course this has implications, but this does allow for auth reload. I've also used Bubble in the past, and I will show you. I will show in the next presentation on how we can have these scripts to auto reload based on what you write. So yeah, it is possible for sure. And yeah, that's a common issue. When I was implementing extensions for the very first time, I was kind of always reloading things manually. It was very time consuming. Cool. So yeah, let's move on. So can we please get back to the slides? All right. So next project. So it's I talked to you about the text expander. So I developed a mini text expander, which will allow us to basically replace certain words or sentences with another I mean, certain short words or sentences with other bigger sentences. Of course, this means that in order to do that inside the page, I need to dynamically detect the addition of input elements, because I want to change these words when I'm inputting. So in order to simplify and to make it really, really simple for everyone to understand, I just draft a quick and simple solution of pulling the DOM every X period to see if there are new input elements available. I will show you in a second. So file and folder structure is the same. And by the way, I'm doing this in the same target application, OpenAI again. So this is the mini text expander. So basically, we have a set of words or sentences that we want to replace. For instance, we want to replace Lemon.io with a sentence, a company with awesome startup developers, and we want to replace Voldemort by the sentence, the one that who shall not be named, so that nobody writes that ever. So we also have so we developed this helper function that replaces also, basically it takes a string and replaces all these keys with a corresponding sentence, and this is the pooling mechanism that I was telling you about. So basically, set interval. So it's a function that repeats forever, every 500 milliseconds. And we search for a specific target element. So in this case, we are looking for text areas, which is what ChatGPT uses. And we are going to add an event listener. So whenever there's an input, in those text areas, we are going to replace the value of that input, take into account these replacements. In order for us to not add the same handler over and over again, so I just made a very simple, naive approach of marking the target element, adding a Fury variable to be true, so that we don't have again the same handler to this text area. So can we change back to my screen so that I can show? All right, so I'm going to reload the extension. Let's refresh the page, and this doesn't, unfortunately, this one doesn't use the fancy style that I inserted before, but it does work. So I would love to join lemon.io, and you see it was replaced with a text from the replacements object. I will also never mention the name of. You see, so it dynamically gets replaced. So the reason for pulling for doing pulling for elements is that, and we can see, so new text areas keep being added all the time. So basically, whenever we change from chats on the ChatGPT, a new text area will be added. So so we need to attach the handler to the new text area. Of course, this code can be greatly improved. We can try to remove the event listener for text areas that are not visible and all of that. So this is just very naive, simple approach to show you how you can quickly draft new functionality. So let me address the questions. Giovanna, what do you think it's the best way to monetize with the development of an extension? Well, this is a good question. Of course, as with many applications, you need to offer something to the public if you want people to even install it in their browsers. But from what I have seen, most extensions that are commercial, they allow you some free functionality, and then you can pay for extra functionality, for more premium functionality. So this is a way to monetize it, of course, just like any other web application. Another way, you can whenever you let's say that we are selling a web application, a regular web application, you can monetize or have premium features with a browser extension. So you can enhance your existing web application by offering the official extension for that application. Many companies do that. So this would be the short answer for that. We also have a question from Diogo. Is it possible for the target application to be another extension so that we can, for example, stylize other extension? To the best of my knowledge, no, we can't extend another extension. To the best of my knowledge, I mean, we can interact with other extensions, but I honestly don't know 100%, but I believe that's not the case from my experience. So let's move on to the final project, which is the email sender. So this is an interesting one. So what I want to do, basically, so this is a bit more advanced. I'm targeting OpenAI again, and I want to have whenever I ask, so a lot of people use ChatGPT to generate emails or replies to emails, and then they copy paste the email content to some other to the email client. So let's say that I use Gmail on a frequent basis, and I want a shortcut. I want to add a button near to the reply of ChatGPT to automatically open the client email interface with already the body of the email filled up. So and that needs to account if the response from ChatGPT does have any HTML inside, which they do especially when they provide code samples. So this is the architecture that I followed. So basically, we will have again the script loader, same as before. That will be loading the script into the page, and then once the script is injected, and we will have an handler for each bottom that will that will pick up the template and store the template inside the index, inside the background script. Why am I doing that? Because I mean, we could simply try to window open Gmail and try to pass by arguments, but it's not supported. I mean, you can pass arguments to open a Gmail interface with a certain receiver or a certain subject, but in terms of the body, we are limited to text only, so we can't send HTML through the URL parameters. So basically, I'm storing the content inside the background script, opening, asking Gmail to open a window. The extension mail loader will ask for the template that we just created to load it into the interface. So we can see several. This was split into several files. So in terms of the code to send, this is the code that is injected into ChatGPT interface. So basically, I'm querying for all replies from ChatGPT and creating the send email button and attaching it to the interface, and then adding an event listener that will communicate with the extension. So this is one of the new things that we added. So basically, I'm using Chrome runtime global object to connect to the Fury extension. And for that purpose, now I need the ID of the extension. So that's why before we injected the ID in the global JavaScript scope, so that we can have access to it later on. So in terms of the email loaders, so the mail loader, this is a script that will be injected inside the Gmail interface that will, whenever it's loaded, it will look for the URL parameters, template ID. It will ask the background script to send us the email with a certain ID, and it will fill the editable body part with that template. So basically, that's what it does. Again, you can see a pulley mechanism here. The reason behind this is because we are never sure whenever this part of the interface is loaded, because the loading is dynamic. And finally, this is the background script. So basically, it allows for connections to the extension, and we have a messaging protocol. So basically, whenever a script connects to the background script, we create a listener that will interpret this message. So basically, we have the send mail type of message that will the send mail will be invoked by ChatGPT, and it will store in a global object the template for that email, and it will open the URL. So yes, background scripts can also open new tabs. And then once the new tab is opened, they will also connect to the background script to ask to get the email template. Okay, and basically this will retrieve the email template to Gmail. And finally, the background script also has a method to retrieve the template from the template that we are currently want to use. So let's change to the IDE. We are approaching the end, so I just wanted to quickly show case. Thank you. So so basically, let's open ChatGPT. So early before the presentation, I asked them to write a short email to Lemon.io to thank them for the services they do to the community, and the answer was actually very insightful. So ChatGPT does know Lemon.io. Anyway, so the code that I developed did have this button to each answer. So if you open up any other answer, it will add the same button. Whenever you click, it will open the Gmail interface, and you see, so it's passing the template ID. So this template ID is being generated inside the background script, and being whenever I open the window, I already open with this argument. So the script that was injected inside Gmail will ask for this specific template ID, so that when we have access to it, we will pre-fill the interface. So let me just show you very, very quickly how this is done. So so mail loader. So no, the send email first. So whenever someone clicks the buttons that I had, we will get the body HTML. We will get the subject. The subject of the email will be the title of the page, and we will post a message of type send email to the extension. On the background script, the message will be received here. So the background script will see a new external connection, and it will reply with this message. So so basically, here I'm building up the URL that I want my browser to open, and I'm starting the template, because this template will be called later on by the Gmail injected code. And then I will open up the URL that I just built up. Once I open up this URL, the mail loader will execute. So, hey, let's look for the template ID URL parameter. Let's ask Chrome, the background script, to get the email, and I will go back again to an external connection. So in this case, the message type will be get email. I will retrieve the template and post the message to the injected mail loader script. Once that is received, I can retrieve the data, and then I will pull the interface. And once I find the element with attribute editable, which was the one that I found that where we can add HTML, I will attach the data HTML to that element. and then clear the interview. So stop the pooling. So basically, I mean, this message went to the background script and then back to a content script and then back to the background script and then back to a content script again. So the message did pass by many phases, but well, it's a way of doing it. If we want two very different applications, which is Gmail client and ChatGPT, to communicate with each other. Cool. So can we change to the slides again, please? Okay. So I want to conclude with, of course, with more of a rhetorical question. Are these good approaches to get new functionality? I think so. I did this in the past with very similar techniques. I've actually used this send email kind of functionality for other purposes, for instance. So this had a practical use. So I believe so. I would love to hear your thoughts on the comment section. So just to do a quick recap. So we did a brief, non-exhaustive overview on how to create browser extensions, more focused on content scripts, but a little bit of background scripts as well. I briefly explained the architecture of browser extensions, including the purpose of each type of component, and I give you a practical demonstration on how to implement an extension. 3 practical demonstrations, and I hope those are useful to you. So, as per the next talks, we will have the next talk will be about going to the next level. So we will focus mostly on the same topic, but with more advanced stuff like creating more complex scripts with several files, and we will then and after that talk we will address again the monkey patching talk, which I missed when I was here last week. So
great.
This is
thanks. Thanks for your talk, Luis. You did it greatly after the whole thing with the illness. So, guys, do you have any questions left? Because right now it's just the high time to address them to Luis. And I will remind you once again that we will make a draw right now, and we will choose the best, the most interesting, unique, or maybe funny question. And the person who addressed it will receive a prize from the Lemon.io. So do not hesitate and type it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think we already have some questions. Do you have experience in Manifest version 3? Yes, I do. I didn't. Actually, there's a great deal of applications still on version 2 because it offers a little bit more flexibility. So there are some restrictions still in place that limit some of the functionalities, and not everyone has migrated it yet. So I decided to keep this in V2 just because I already had practical examples that I wanted to share with you. But definitely, any of these examples can be transported to version 3. So the other question: are you going to share the source code? Yes, absolutely. I can share. I'm happy to share the source code. I will talk with my colleagues on how to do that.
We will share the source code with everyone who registered to be a Lemon.io events page. I will duplicate it here right now. So if you haven't registered yet, I invite you to sign up for it, and you will receive the source code and the links to the upcoming events. And I pass my word back to Luís.
Yeah, Dimitri. So, but B3 doesn't support it anymore, and we need to define the others in the rule set. Yes, yeah, there are some known issues and workarounds. I mean, I don't know specifically the issue that you are having, but yeah, definitely. You will need to figure out some workarounds because even some of the things that I showed here are workarounds. So in order to get the most of the extensions. So yeah, I know your trouble. I mean, I'm happy to connect with you later on if you want my help to address that issue. So Diogo, if for example chat GPT implemented some send email support under a paywall, would it make the extension illegal? Well, I wouldn't say illegal per se. I would say potentially against their terms of use. So whenever you are using an application, you have a rules set on how to use that application, and of course, modifying the behavior or adding functionality might not be permitted because you're not using the application the way they intended. So yeah, definitely could be it can pose issues. So again, the best thing to do is always, if we are going, uh, if it's for personal use, you might not have too many issues, but especially if you are going to publish the application, this is something that needs to be carefully evaluated in order before proceeding in publishing something that interacts with other applications. Sean, is there anything you really want to do with extensions that is not yet supported? Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, for instance, this short example that I showed is, of course, you can go there, open Gmail, copy paste the content of the response of ChatGPT and manually paste it on Gmail. That can be done, but this functionality itself for opening up the email client already with the content can save you 10 or 15 seconds of your daily work. And if you repeat this task 10 or 20 times a day, it might be valid. So of course that's very subjective. So this specific functionality might be useful for some people, might not be as useful, but yeah, for instance, I can give you a specific example of an extension that I use, that I've been using for years, which interacts with e-commerces and it compares the price of items between stores, so that I can get the best deal possible. So no application will offer me that by default. So this is a good example of functionality that I want. I want to be able to compare prices more easily, and that happens inside the actual e-commerce. I'm not going to name the extension itself, but you can certainly search for that in the Chrome Store. Cool.
It seems like there's no more questions as for now, if you already covered the previous one.
Yes, I think I think we're good.
Great. guys, I invite you to think and take your chance in case you still have some uncovered questions to address them. And I invite Luís to choose the most unique, fun, or interesting. The choice is yours question.
Two, right? I can pick two.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to select one of Dimitri's questions on about the question about the iframes, how to inject content script for the iframe conditionally, because it's honestly something I never tried myself, and I thought it was a very interesting one, and it will make me research on the topic actually. So that was a good one. Yeah.
As far as I know, Dmitro is cooperating with the Lemon.io, and he is a part of our community. So that's awesome. Congratulations, Dmitro. I will write you right after the event.
I also would like to pick one of Diogo's questions about I like both of his questions, especially the first one about extending another extension. So I thought it was very interesting. So that would be my selection as well.
Awesome. I want to express my congratulations to Diego. And Diego, I'll write down my email. Please write me a short message so I can reach back to you, and we can agree on the details. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations, Diego. And thank you, Luís, for hosting this event. And as a reminder, we have 2 more events coming next week, again on Wednesday. We host events every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. UTC +1. So sign up and follow us and stay tuned. All the best. Bye.
Bye, everyone.